Johnson, Rudy J. R&R in the morning on San Antonio Sports Star. ESPN 1250 and 103.3 FM.
On the competitive balance tax, we offered a significantly larger first-year increase than in the last two agreements, bearing in mind that the competitive balance tax is the only mechanism in our agreement that protects some semblance of a level playing field among the clubs.
Even the mic knew he was lying. The mic started scratching when he said that. Even the microphone knew he was lying.
Now, before we dive in, he's Rudy J. I'm Rob Thompson, James Plever, who is ensconced in velvet.
Is that velvet?
Today. He is in velvet today.
James, I see you, James.
I would drape myself in velvet if it was socially acceptable.
And it's not, but yet you still are. Now you look good, bro.
No, you look great.
But most guys wearing velvet at 5 a.m. are coming home.
For real. Normally, it's been a good night.
It's been a good night.
How do you know it wasn't?
Oh, there we go.
You would have told us.
There you go. I felt it.
No, you don't come off to me as a kiss and teller.
That scent of Chanel and regret.
Chanel number 5.
Regret was lingering in the studio. Now, as we come into this,
okay, let's talk about
the owners. I want to lay out, and you will get where I am by what I say.
Okay.
But I come into at any point when owners and players are negotiating, I immediately will fall on the side of the players in every instance. Because when we come into this, keep in mind, while the owners are coming to the meetings in a helicopter that they own, the players are coming in Rolls Royces that they own.
Okay.
So we're dealing in monopoly money. But I will always fall on the side of the player because the helicopters are owned by the owners. Jerry comes to the negotiation in his own helicopter. So there's money, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money involved, more than we can even begin to comprehend as a normal American citizen. I understand what it's like to own a business. But I also understand what it's like to produce a product, whether you manufacture it or you're selling somebody else's product, and what your value is to that product. Mm-hmm. You're there to heighten the value of that product, but the product is the value, not you.
Ooh.
Competitive balance. When you hear competitive balance from a commissioner, what they are saying is, look, we have to put fail safes in place because we don't trust the owner sitting beside us. I need somebody to protect me from myself, whether it is from making horribly poor decisions and overpaying, or not having to use any money at all because I'm guaranteed a certain amount no matter what I do.
Now, here's the thing, Rob. As I told you in the first segment, you brought me over to your side with these billionaires. But this is the thing. If I'm put myself in the owner's helicopter, if y'all stink and no one's coming to the games and no one's buying jerseys and no one's buying beer and popcorn or hats, I still have to pay you.
Yes.
So while, yes, the product is what makes money, but when my product isn't making money, I'm still obligated to pay you.
Yes. Because
so I should have, even though I'm coming in on my helicopter, if you can hear me over the chopper, I still should have I should still be able to express my gripes and concerns and say, hey, we should scale back here and there because I'm not making as much money as I was in 2017.
Are you making any money at all, Mr. Owner? How much did you make?
That is confidential.
Oh.
I'm going to be in the helicopter. Okay, you know what? You be in the Rolls Royce, I'll be in the helicopter. That's confidential.
Okay. But it's not, my salary's not confidential.
Ooh.
So if you're going to plead poverty, prove poverty. If you're going to tell me you're poor and can't afford it, show me. Are you just going to say, I wanted to make 100 million, but now you're only going to make 50?
I have to open my books up to you?
Well, if
I'm the boss.
I'm not asking you to. You don't have to open your books, But if you're going to tell me you're poor, prove you're poor. I didn't ask you if you were poor.
Okay,
you
what if I prove? What if I prove I'm poor and
then we will discuss.
I'll show you
but
that.
Until I know better, all I can control is what I do as a player. Is I will come to work and work as hard as I can for you every day. And if you have a problem with what I'm doing, then we'll address that individually. But you owe me the money that you've negotiated. You can't come to me and say, I need protection because if I overpay you, I won't make as much money. Or God forbid, I might have to leave your city. I might, because this is a small market. So you better take less.
Threaten with that. We do threaten with that sometimes, but sometimes it's necessary.
When you hear competitive balance, that's what they're saying, that no way Kansas City can compete with New York.
We can't, Rob. I can't. Like, look, the Yankees had 4 million people come through their turnstiles. I had 750,000 people come through my turnstiles.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not making as much money as the Steinbrenners. I'm not.
No, you're not.
But yet I have 2 guys on my team that I'm paying. One of them I'm paying 15.
Care. But see, the key to the statement you just said was as much. You're still making a lot of money.
Am I?
Doing no. Yes. How many times do you see baseball franchises for sale?
Never.
Never. You know why?
Because it's profitable.
It is a T-bill. It is guaranteed income, and you got to do nothing. So be a better owner.
Well, you know what I'm going to say to you from my helicopter? We'll just lock it out if you're going to have this attitude.
That's fine. That's the predicament I find myself as a player, and that's the power that you have as the owner, because you're the only place I can play. But the fact of the matter is, when I hear this competitive balance thing, there's a lot of things in play here, and I do understand the small market thing, but I can say this. When I see what goes on in Miami, when I see this cyclical nature in Tampa.
You're talking about the Marlins?
The Marlins.
Okay.
And I see what goes on with the Rays, where it's this cyclical nature of we'll draft well, we'll get them going, and then we'll dump it.
Okay, time out on the Rays. If we're going to talk about, first of all, that's why Jeter left the Marlins. He's been there 5 years. Obviously, the Marlins said, look, man, we're going a different direction. We're going to play all single A players, and we're going to work our way up. And Jeter's like, I have no time for it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. But Tampa, that's a great argument. See, now you painted yourself in the corner, Mr. Rolls Royce, because we continue to put out a great product and no one cares.
Well, then move. San Antonio is dying.
Rob,
Nashville is dying. There are cities
that are into a deal, Rob. I'm contractually obligated to be here until a certain amount of time.
Oh, tell that to the Raiders. Tell that to the Rams. You want to go someplace. Again, you're just saying, if I move, I won't make as much money. You ain't going broke.
What's up, Pledge?
You mentioned the Marlins
and
the way that they do things. Let's not forget, the way they've done things has netted them 2 World Series titles by doing it that exact way.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
So you can be successful doing it.
I'm not saying about success.
The Royals won a title.
Don't plead poverty. That is the worst argument. Yeah, the Royals have won.
The Royals won one.
Yes. Milwaukee in basketball. The Spurs. Don't plead poverty.
Okay, well, see,
be a better owner.
First off, I'm not saying I'm broke, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, y'all get 57% of the pie. We get 53. Let's do 56-54.
Why? Is anybody buying a ticket to see you own? No.
Or 56-40. So I'm sorry, I did the math wrong. 56-40, so whatever it is, 57-43. Like the baseball players get a much larger piece of the pie than any other league.
Yes.
Let's shorten this up a little bit.
Why? I'm the product.
I'm not making as much money as you think I am. And y'all's money is, see, that's the other thing, Mr. Rolls Royce.
If you can't afford me, I'll move.
When I tell you get 300 million, you get 300 million.
Yes.
I'm not guaranteed to make $1 billion every year.
You got to take a risk.
My money's not guaranteed.
In most instances, but in baseball, you don't got to take a risk. You know exactly when the season begins how much money you're going to make bottom at the base. You know exactly how much money is coming in from TV. You know exactly how much money you will pull out of your stadium. You know to the penny. You do. So be a better owner. And if you can't afford the boat, freaking sell it.
First of all, I agree with you. I'm just being devil's advocate.
We both
but
are.
I agree with you.
I agree because as a San Antonio Spurs fan, I know if this goes to a total free market, it'd be very difficult for the Spurs to stay here. But my retort to that is, how many of you have actually been to a Spurs game in the last 5 years? You can be a fan of a team that ain't here. You think they're here, but if you don't go, are they here?
That's a question for the fans, for real.
It's true. How many Cowboy fans in San Antonio have legitimately been to a game? You can be a fan if they're not here. The fact of the matter is, if you can't afford the boat, don't plead poverty and say, well, I need a concession because I got to buy a new motor. You bought the boat.
Rob, all I'm saying is that's the thing about being an owner that the employee never gets. And I'm not talking to you. This is hypothetical conversation. I got to buy I have to do all of these things that y'all aren't taking into consideration. Y'all are just looking at my bottom line. I'm responsible for all the overhead. And even on my worst years, when I have my worst year turnstile wise, I have my worst year merch wise, I still have to pay Mike Trout his $300 million.
You paid him that. You decided to pay him that. I didn't. You did. Be a better businessman.
I don't know if that's all the way fair. My money changes every year, Rob, as an owner.
You know that we're not talking about a startup tech company. We're talking about a business that's been around for 120 years that is guaranteed returns. Have you ever heard of a single baseball guy go bankrupt?
But see, when I don't spend the money, I get called out. When I don't, like if I'm the Pirates and I'm not spending the money because I'm like, you know what, I can't afford to do that. Then I get called out for not spending the money. So when I do, you're like, hey, you know what? You gave them the deal. But then when I say, hey, you know what? I can't afford it. Then the players are like, look at the Pirates. Look at the Pirates. Their payroll is $57 million.
Right.
That's not right. Like,
sell the team.
What's up?
On top of that argument, you look at the owners. They're liable for anything that goes wrong, whether it's at the stadium, whether it is the pandemic, and you take a huge loss with a pandemic. Anything that may happen falls upon the owners. You are liably responsible for everything.
See, Rob, I'm still recovering from 2020, Mr. Rolls Royce.
What do you mean recovering? Did you make money in 2020? You did. Did the TV money not show? Yes. And if you happen to take a slight loss,
okay.
What's been your annual rate of return since you've owned the team?
It's been
pretty good.
I've done pretty well.
Yeah.
Sell the business,
team.
Right?
You know what? Sell the team.
Still a business,
though,
right?
If you can't afford the boat, sell the boat. Don't plead poverty to me, is what I'm saying. And when you could start throwing competitive balance in there, that is that threat to every little team, every little market team. Like, look, if we don't do this, we'll take your team and they'll go someplace else. New York will have 5 teams. Well,
we'll see.
That ain't going to happen because the owners in New York don't want more teams coming.
No.
So there are built-in speed bumps to stopping the worst case scenario. All I'm getting at when we get here is I refuse to listen to poverty.
I refuse to listen to that. And I'm with you. I just had to play devil's advocate.
Use competitive balance whenever you hear this as a dog whistle for you're making me not make as much money as I want to make. And you need to protect me from myself because I might overpay Mike Trout.
Cheers to
and
that
I
statement.
need to make sure that I can make the money to recoup that.
Cheers to that statement. You're making me not make as much money as I want to.
Does the salary cap help to make the NFL the most competitively balanced league in all of sports?
There is certainly a place for a salary balance. I'm not saying that, but no other business anywhere. There's not every plumbing company in San Antonio didn't come together and go, you know what?
I think
there's
again, this is a different conversation, but I think parity. That word is
overrated.
That word is thrown around the NFL far too much. The teams that suck all the time.
They just get a better draft pick.
Like, I mean, we really throwing Cincinnati in this conversation, and they've sucked since '81. Like, okay, they finally got over the hump in 2022. Like, I don't know if it's really parity in the NFL, even with the salary cap.
But every year we talk about it. There's a team that goes
that's what I'm saying.
First.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost urban legend at this point. Does every team really have a chance? No.
And we don't want every team to have a chance. We want the all-powerful icon to chase. We want that.
And the Rams operated as if there wasn't a salary cap this year.
And most good owners operate that way as well. If the Browns have been bad for 25 years, for 30 years, doesn't that prove that they're not very good? That they're not very good at what they're doing?
Even with the salary cap.
Even with the salary cap, even with that, they are putting money in their pocket to the detriment of the team.
And baseball has the benefit that NFL doesn't when you're in these negotiations, because guy 26 through 53 just can't afford it.
Right.
Baseball 1 through 25, we all made pretty good money. We can hold out with you. My family will survive. NFL, not the case. They're like, hey, get this deal done. I got bills to pay.
Well, we ate this segment up.
Yeah, my bad. Let's get out of here.
This was great. Your thoughts, we appreciate what you're thinking, and you can offer it in a variety of ways. The Kia Bossa Bacon phone lines, we always want to hear from you. 656-3776-656-ESPN. If you're streaming, you know where to go. Reach out. Facebook, on the Twitters, on the YouTubes, wherever you might be. Reach out if you have some thoughts. We want to hear from it. We'll carry on. This is R&R in the Morning. You're on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 103.3 FM.